China is taking over Africa with this life-changing megaproject. China's transportation system is one of the most extensive and rapidly developing in the world, but this new railway megaproject is going to take over the entire Africa. In today's episode, you are going to be amazed by China's life-changing megaproject in cooperation with Kenya. So, have a look. The country has an extensive network of high-speed trains, which connect major cities and have greatly reduced travel time. Additionally, China has a large number of airports and airlines, making air travel accessible to many people. The country also has a well-developed network of highways and expressways, which connect major cities and towns. In recent years, China has been investing heavily in developing its water transport infrastructure, including building new ports and expanding existing ones. As for China's railway system, it is integrated with other forms of transportation, including buses, subways, and airports, to provide a comprehensive and convenient transportation system for passengers. This has made it easier for people to travel around the country, as well as to other countries in the region, as China has also been investing in building and upgrading railways in other countries as part of the Belt and Road Initiative. Let's take the example of the meter gauge railway in Kenya, also known as the Lunatic Express, was a railway built in the early 20th century that connected the coastal city of Mombasa to the capital Nairobi, and later extended to Kisumu and the shores of Lake Victoria. The railway was built by the British colonial government as part of the East African Railway Master Plan, which aimed to connect the three East African colonies of Kenya, Uganda, and Tanganyika. The construction of the railway was a massive undertaking and required the labor of thousands of workers, many of whom were imported from British India. The railway was built to a meter gauge, which is narrower than the standard gauge used in most other countries, and was completed in 1901. The significant role of this railway is in the economic development of Kenya, allowing for the export of agricultural products such as coffee and tea from the interior to the coast. It also played a role in the colonization of Kenya, as it made it easier for European settlers to move into the interior of the country. Today, the railway is still in operation, but has been facing challenges due to aging infrastructure, lack of maintenance, and competition from road transport. Because of this, Kenya decided in 2014 to work with China on the design of the Mombasa-Nairobi Railway. The project is 480 kilometers long as a whole. China spent $3.9 billion to build the railroad in Kenya. The Export-Import Bank of China lent the money, and the railroad was built to the standards of the Chinese railway. After the railway was finished in 2017, local logistics costs went down by 40%, making it easier for East African countries to move things around. East Africa to connect and join together to encourage the economic growth and improvement of people's lives in Africa. The construction of the railway began in December 2014, but the Chinese engineering team ran into many problems along the way because the Mombasa-Nairobi Railway is in a complicated part of the world. For the project to work, it will need to build railroad bridges, highway bridges, frame culverts, subgrades, water ditches, protection, and other auxiliary works. Both the building process and the project itself are hard to understand. It is an important and difficult job for the Mombasa-Nairobi Railway. You can't even imagine how hard it is to build the railroad. The first is hiring skilled construction workers. Because Kenya's railways aren't very good, the country has a very small pool of skilled construction workers, which makes it hard to solve the problem. China brought in 30,000 local workers from Kenya and taught them how to build and maintain railways and how to speak Chinese so they could talk to each other. Most of the work on the project was on the second of the flood drainage systems. People often think that Africa is dry and that it never rains at any time of the year. Kenya is the only country that doesn't follow this rule. During the summer months in Kenya, it often rains hard all the time. This can cause flooding in many places. This is because the plant roots are weak and the red soil doesn't drain well. A lot of animals have to die so that the problem of flooding can be fixed. China put in a carefully built flood drainage system when it was building the railway. The third problem that the engineering team needs to solve is how to use the building materials. Because of Kenya's unique geography and relatively low level of economic development, concrete is one of the most important raw materials for building railways there. This material can be used by the engineering team. The most important part of concrete is fly ash, which is a high-strength material that can reduce cracks and is usually made by the electrostatic action of soot from thermal power plants. However, Kenya doesn't have enough resources and doesn't have the right materials. If the cost of getting from China to Africa is very high, the budget for the railway will be blown. Because of this, Chinese engineers have done a lot of research and decided to fix the concrete problem by using volcanic ash from Kenya instead of fly ash. The original plan called for part of the route to go through a national park. However, environmentalists are against the idea because they are worried that the project will speed up the extinction of species. To figure out how to fix this problem, the Chinese engineering team decided that they should build a bridge here. The bridge they built is now called the Sabo River Bridge. The bridge is 2 kilometers long and has 59 piers. At its highest point, the bridge is 35.1 meters high, and at its lowest point, it is 9 meters high, which is high enough for giraffes to walk under it. It was found that this was bad for the environment. China finished building the railway in less than 3 years after the first train went through it in May 2017. The railway got its official name and opened to the public in May 2017. Kenya's national image immediately got better when it became the first country in East Africa to have a railway system that was good enough. The building of the Nairobi Railway made it easier for people to get around and made it easier to move goods. Logistics costs can be cut by between 10 and 40% when traveling from Nairobi to Mombasa. This will help Kenya become a regional logistics center and manufacturing center, as long as the country meets the local needs for passengers and cargo. By extending the Mombasa-Nairobi Railway, 7 East African countries, including Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, South Sudan, and Ethiopia, will be linked together. This will continue to help East African countries work together economically and share their cultures. Kenya Railways Management says that this railway makes up about 2% to 3% of Kenya's GDP. Local goods used to take 3 days to be delivered, but now they only take 8 hours. Also, the railway has helped Uganda and other East African countries a lot with their logistics, which has been good for the economic growth of the whole East African region. But what's surprising is that Kenya's incoming Minister of Transport, Murkomen, said that Kenya can't pay back the cost of building the railway right now, even though it's worth a lot of money. They think that Kenya still needs money to improve other parts of its infrastructure. So he is holding out hope that China will extend the time Kenya has to pay back the loan from 20 to 50 years, so that Kenya can first focus on building up its economy. But the world is changing quickly, so it is impossible to know for sure what will happen in 50 years. So the outside world thinks that Kenya has fallen into China's debt trap, even though the railway has given all Kenyans jobs and hope, as well as opportunities and wealth. But if you look at how China gives loans to Africa now, you can see that they are all low-interest loans, or loans with no interest. People think that Kenya has fallen into China's debt trap, but this is not true. Taking the whole world into account, China is the only place that can provide them. Since some African countries can't pay back the loans, China also forgave 23 debts from 17 African countries in August of this year. In fact, if you look at how the Belt and Road Initiative has grown, not only have 2 railways been built in Kenya, but China has also built the Djibouti Railway in Ethiopia, which connects Djibouti and Addis Ababa, the country's capital, making the 2 areas more connected. Because of this, Kenya and Ethiopia's economies have become more connected. The time it takes to get between the 2 places has been cut from 7 days to 10 hours, and the railway is expected to become the most important way for exporting agricultural products from Africa in the future. Some countries might be in debt for a short time because of Chinese manufacturing, but at least these projects are growing in a healthy way. Africa's economic growth has been helped by these projects to build infrastructure, and the living standards of Africans have gone up a lot as a result. That's all. Thank you for watching. Do not forget to like and subscribe to our channel and ring the bell icon to get more videos.